Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing good. And today we are going for the session for Microsoft Excel basic training. I will be taking you through the basics of Microsoft Excel as part of the faculty development program that you've signed up for. Just to give you a brief introduction about myself, I am Renu Punjabi. I am working with JLL as a sales enablement manager. I have overall 14 years of experience, and today I'm going to take you through the basics of the training in Excel. Let's go over the topics that we will be covering today, and I will take you through one by one. So we will start with how Microsoft Excel looks like, what are the ribbon menu options, then we go over the data entry section of it, then we will go to the formulas and functions that we can work with, and formatting options, pivots, charts, and graphs. Let's get started, everyone. So here is the basic tool, how it looks like. I wanted you to see the ribbon option clearly. So yeah. So this is called the ribbon option. It has basic functions and formulas that you can start with. The home button has the font and formatting, the alignment section. We can also tag the sensitivity of the sheet that we are working as listed. Like if you want to make it highly confidential, then it will give you some options on how to protect your data and everything. We also can look at the type of formats, like is it a general, number, currency, and so on. We will go over this in detail. I'm just taking you through the basics of how the ribbon option looks like. Insert option gives us multiple items that we can insert and work with the data. We also have a draw option here. It is for the people who work with certain graphs and want to present the data as a whiteboard. Layout and orientation section works with when you're printing. Formulas are like, we'll go over some of them, but it is a huge list that we can look into. Going with data, there are options that we will be covering today. Will be sorting, text to columns, removing duplicates, filtering, so all of these. There are other options like review, developer, and power pivot. So these are the advanced level of Excel, and we won't be covering these sections today. One of the key things to note is when we go to the file section, it gives us certain options, like new is the basic, like we can open the file. When you talk about versions, like when we are all saving our files into Excel and it is part of the OneDrive, only when it is part of the OneDrive, then you can have a version history as well. How to find versions in case you lost your data. So you will go to the info section, and if you scroll down, you will see versions. Only when your data is saved on OneDrive, you will be able to recover any old version that you have created or someone else edited or deleted. So you can recover the old version and save it as in case you lose your data. Let's start with like we also know that save and save as option work when like it is already saved. You just click save. But if you want to save it as a copy or save it on a different location, then you can save as a copy, right? Let's go over to the next topic, which is working with the data. Let's suppose we have this data and we want to insert multiple columns here. So just right click and it will give you an option to insert or delete or clear contents. So we want to insert, we will just go with insert. It will you can also create a new column or a new row by pressing Shift, Control and plus sign. So it is Shift, Control and plus. When you want to insert a new column or a row, otherwise right click of the button can. If you want to add or delete multiple columns, you can simply select a range. For example, you want to add 5 columns. You will select 5 and click insert. So it will add 5 columns right where the place you started. Same as with the rows, you can, suppose you want to insert 5 rows, so it will insert 5 rows. If you want to undo this, simply go and undo. That's all. Let's suppose we want to insert certain website link here and we want to say link a website, and this is our link. So I will copy this link, Control C, or maybe you can use this icon here, which is Control C. I will go to the cell, highlight the cell here and go to insert. It will take me to the link section. I will click that link and I will paste the link here, and I'll click OK, which will make this a link. So this is how you insert links into your spreadsheets. Let's suppose you want to copy the data that you have here into the next cell, then press Control R. So Control R gets the data in the adjacent cell. Let's suppose we want to copy these 5 numbers as horizontally instead of vertically. So we will select this data. We will say copy and we will select the cell where we want to paste it, and we will go here and go to paste special. Paste special will open a box. It can give you like you want to paste it as values, you want to what you want to do with it, like just the formats and comments or notes. If you've inserted any, then like we can select different options here. But right now we want to just transpose from vertical to horizontal. So I'll click transpose and it's done. When we, for example, we want to copy this link as value only. I don't want to copy the link. So I will go here and paste values. So it will remove all the formatting and it will just be the text. All right. If we go over the autofill section, let's talk about how to insert a bookmark. Let's suppose we have a page here which is autofill, and we want to link that page to this. So we will go to the data, insert. We will go to link and we want to bookmark. So we will select bookmark. Let's say we want to bookmark cell A1 of autofill as soon as we click autofill in this page. So it will create a bookmark here. If I click this, it will take me to the next page. Let's talk about how we can autofill more further. MS Excel is intuitive in a way, like if you enter 1 month, you don't have to enter all the 12. So if you select and drag the cell, it will take you all the way till December. So like you don't have to fill the information, just select and drag. For example, this is 120 and 160, and I want all the months to have the same amount of with the count of 40s. So if you drag and select here, it will take you exactly that. It can autofill and auto calculate. Let's say again, overhead expenses, we select the two. It has to has two selected options, and then you drag it, because it will calculate the difference between the two, and it will simply drag the entire thing all the way to December. Right? It can also autofill certain figures, like if we enter Q1, it can enter Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and again begins at Q1. So same with if we enter 1 quarter, it can autofill if we drag and drop. Same with quarter 1. So wherever there is a numeric figure and we want the Excel to calculate it for us, it can do so. Same is with the weekdays. Let's say it is Monday and you want to create a list, or maybe just click on autofill option, fill the series. So it will give you an option, fill the days, fill the weekends, flash fill. So all of these options are available. When you try to drag, it gives you this option. Same applies to the month. You can drag all the way until December and it will take you back again, which we saw at the top. Even if it is JAN Jan or it is full text as January, it will work the same way. Let's see how do we enter date and time into Excel. If you want to enter date, we will always start with equals and we will say today and columns, and it will give us the date for today. If you want to enter time, we will start with equals and now and bracket close, open and close, the blank bracket, open and close. It will give us the time. When we want to derive, for example, a month out of the date, we will always start the formula with equals. We will always start with the formula as equals and we will say month. Start the column, select the row cell reference and close it. It will give you the month. If you want to extract the day out of the date, you'll have to do the same thing with the day function and the year function. So this is how you extract or dissect the dates. If you have huge amount of data and you want to look only at months or days or years, this is how you do that. There is a basic calculation or the formula that we can arrive at. For example, if it is sales minus overhead is the profit, and it can also copy formulas if you drag and drop, right? So this was the autofill function of Excel. Hope it was not too quick. We've covered the first section. Let's talk about certain data points which are find replace. So whenever you want to find the data, you will go with Control F. So Control F opens a window, or maybe you can also go to data and find and replace. So suppose we are looking at the color green. So it will tell us the first instance wherever it is green. It will not differentiate if the text is only green or slash green. So if you want to search only the slash green ones, then you will give it slash green. And it can find all if you select find all, and it will give you the cell references. When you click on that, it will take you to that cell. Right? Just suppose we want to replace slash green with slash light green. So we will give the exact term here and we will replace all. So it will make all the replacements here, and instead of slash green, it is now light green. Right? This is the basic of, I'll just write the formula for you. Control F is for find. Okay. I will be sharing this Excel sheet for your reference in case you want to go over for certain quick tips. Right. One of the key features that we have is like working with data is you can select the entire data you want, select the entire data, and you can simply format it as a table. It will give you filters. It will give you selections. For example, you want to look at Alexandria, then it will give you just that. So it just works very simple. You just have to select the data and go to format as a table. You can select different colors and versions of it, and it's totally easy. Let's suppose we want to add a validation. What does a validation mean? Validation basically means that I want people to only enter numbers or only enter the certain information in certain cells. Let's say we have a cell called city, and right now I want people to not enter any city names, but only these. Let's select the entire city column and take it here. Control C, Control V. We will go to data and we will select this option which says remove duplicates of column F. Now it has given me 96 unique, 147 unique values and 96 duplicates have been removed. I want this column to be a drop-down column, like instead of people entering the data, they can select the city from here. So let's say I want this new city. Let's say we okay, let's do this first. So we will select the entire column and we will go to this icon where we go into the data tab. We will go to this icon and we will say data validation. It's right now says any value, but we will change it and we will say we want to create a list. We will go to list and we will go to the source of the list, which is sheet 1. And we will select not city, but all the cities, so that like if we select city, it will take city as an option as well. So when we go OK, So it will give us all these options. Right now, what is happening here is it is giving me city as it is selected here. Let's say we want to sort this data. Let's go over here and select sort. Sorry. So there are two options to sort. One is you can select here and sort, but when I tried to do that, a city also went in the sorting. So like it will show city in sorting. So what I'll do is I'll select the filter first, go to the drop down and sort A to Z. So that makes filter makes the first option as your title. Then you select this. And when you go here, you will see it is sorted. This is how things work. Okay, let's say we want another column which gives us state and zip code together. We will start with the simple formula which says equals to and concatenate. So concatenate just combines different text from different references. You will say state, you will put a comma, then your text too can be zip code, but there will be no spaces between them. So any space that you put in has to come into this section, and you put a comma again and you post a zip code. What it does is it brings the state and the zip code together. We can do this for the first name and the last name. We can use this formula for dividing, like segregating this first name and last name as well. Let's say now we want to separate the text which we presented as state and zip code into two separate columns. Let's paste this data here. How the text to column works is it simply gives you two options. There are two options. One is delimited, like you can use a certain Q, which is in this case the formula of dash, or fixed length. Like it usually works less because when you put a fixed width, it generally divides the data in this fashion. Like you will get a bar here and you can divide the data like this. So usually when people work with data like this and they have a fixed or maybe same information, then we use the fixed data text to columns. Otherwise we use the delimited. What delimited will do, like right now there is no tab. We have a dash here. What it did was, as soon as I put dash, it changed the dash here into a line. Same goes with comma. So if I select comma, it will give me like this. So let's finish. Why it took the reference of table 3 at the zip code is because the formula is still there. So if we paste this as a text, let's say Control V only as values, and you run the text to columns again, and there is no comma, it's just dash. So it just separates the state and the codes again. So this is how we can work with data, some of the basic functions on sorting, on applying text to columns, on applying data validations, and data filling automatically through the intuitive tool that is Excel. Let's go over to the formulas and functions in a bit more detail. Let's say we have sales figures and the overhead expenses. What we want here is the total. There are two options to do the math here. One is there is a icon which says sum. So as soon as you click it, it will give you the sum of the cells above it. And you can drag it. There's another option, like you can again click the sum on the row level and it will give you the same thing. Let's say we want to calculate the average. Sorry, before that, in case you don't want to use this function, what you can do is you can simply say equals to sum, select this, put a plus sign, select this, and close the brackets. This is a detailed way of doing it, but generally when the option is available here, so obviously we'll use that. Let's say we want average. So average has a formula which is simple, average. It gives you the numbers. So we want to select all the range and close the bracket. So that will give us the average. Let's say we want the totals. Sorry, this was profits. So what we want to do here is we want to calculate what is the profit. And then we total everything. So this is how we do the basic functions. Some of the other functions here are like we've already gone over the sum function. Let's go over the subtract. Like we want to know how much was the profit. This is there. We want to add sales and overhead expenses. It is there. We want to multiply the sales by ×2. So that's how you do it. We want to divide the sales by ×2. It will give us the answer. We want to increase the sales by 2 times to the power of 2. We want to calculate the profit percentage of the sale. It will give us in this format, but we can always click on this option, which will change the format of the data to the percentage value. One of the things to look at is when we're looking at the average numbers, it is giving us 3, 4 decimal places. We can always select this and click brackets. It will reduce click this icon of comma, which will always put the decimal places to 2. These are some of the simple formulas that we can work with. There are others that we will go through once we move forward with the training. Let's look at, like I also have a lookup function bookmark created here. So let's see what the data of lookup says. Let's suppose we have the data, which is employee name, department, and compensation. This is their ID numbers, and we want to look up IDs for only these people and want to know their employee names from this data. So what we will do is we will start with equals to, and we will type VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP opens a formula which says lookup value, table array, column index number, and range. So first thing is you will look up this. This is the value that we want to look up into this database. So we will say look up my ID here in column G2 into this range, and we want to calculate employee name. So how many places is employee ID from the data ID? So from ID it is at place 2. You can see into 2C. So that gives you the reference of where the data lies. 3C and so on. So it will give you, you can select the entire data, or you can simply select until here, and the formula will still work. And the last part is always 0. When we do that, it will give us the option of, like, we want to check if this person is correct. Then we select this select the ID, to go to Control F, put this ID, and we say F. And yes, it is Robert. So the formula is correct. Let's say we want to autofill this. What you will do is you select the data and double click. It will flash fill all the formula in the following cells. This is the quickest way to find the data between two different sheets. There's another formula which is called HLOOKUP. Let's say you have IDs like these and you want the department of these IDs. We will go with the same formula. HLOOKUP, it opens up the lookup value. Okay, I want to look up this value. What is my table array? Table array remains the same, but instead of employee name, I will have to drag it all the way to department, wherein it is sitting at the third column from ID. So I will select A to C and I will put the number as 3 and then 0. Okay. Sorry, just a sec. It has to have the data in the vertical format as well. So what it needs is, let's do it that way. When your data is in horizontal format and you want to look for the same amount of data in the horizontal way, and it will, yeah. So when we talk about HLOOKUP, we need to have the data also in the horizontal format, wherein if the IDs were in rows and the department were also in rows, then we will simply look up the horizontal way, which says look up column, look up the formula, look up the value for ID in column K1 into this range, wherein the department is in third cell to the lookup value. So this will give us third value is the department, and we put 0, then it gives manufacturing. And if we drag it here, it gives us the department for all of the IDs that we are looking for. So this was the basic HLOOKUP and the VLOOKUP that we work with when we are working with data. Okay, let's see what's the next topic that we are covering. It is formatting. we've gone a bit already about the font styles and borders. Let's see. We already have a font section here. You can select different fonts from this drop down. It has a huge range of options that you can change your data fonts into. Let's suppose we check this one. So this changes the font style and the font size. So you can simply select font size, font colors, font styles, and references. There is also an option of cell styles here. Let's say we want to change the cell styles to this or to certain data model defined sections that we have here. One of them is input, and we can quickly select any color, any font from predefined cell styles that we have. This will format the entire data into the quick cell styles that you have available, or you can do it in this way. Like if you want to reduce the font, it will. If you want to increase the font, you can press on increase the font size, change the font background, change the font colors from here, and so on. When you want to put it as no fill and automatic, it goes back to 0 and it goes back to black and white text as it was earlier. Let's say we want to use borders. Again, there are options of different types of borders that you can use to define your data or to make it more visible when you have a huge amount of data. As we discussed earlier, you can change the different styles, fonts, formats in a very detailed way. But in case you want, if you're looking for a quick fix to this data type, then just select format as table and you can choose any of the table options that you have, right? Let's also look at certain data types. Let's say we right now have a hire date here, which is showing as this number, but it has to be a date. There are certain functions here, and one of them is the format. Format defines what type of format it is. If you see in number, it is 40117, but if we convert it to short date or long date, it will go to 31st October 2009. So this is how you define a date. There are other options as well. In case you want to choose the third type of date, you will right click and go to format cells. You can simply select the date option here, and it will give you different types of dates that you can look at. Let's come to the salary part. This looks like a plain number. Let's say we want the currency to be euro, and it will automatically convert it into the accounting format. Let's say the next person's salary is in dollars. So we do it that way. Like you simply select dollars and it will bring the dollar sign and the 00 value. Let's say you don't want the decimal places, so you can increase or decrease the decimal places from here. Right. These are some of the basic formatting things that we can look at. There are, if we go to view option, there are certain options like if you want to change the entire view of your page, then you can simply say remove the formula bar. It removes the formula bar from your page. Remove the headings. It will remove the column headings as you see, or the row headings as you see. If you want to remove the grid lines, you can remove the grid lines as well. This works very well when you are creating charts and graphs. We can also freeze panes. What does freeze pane means? It means like you have the first row. So wherever your active cell is, so as soon as you click on freeze pane, it will, if you can see it simply created a new border around this active cell. So it will, if you scroll up or down, if you scroll left or right, so it will freeze pane above and to the left of the active cell. So you unfreeze the panes. Let's say when we scroll down and we have a lot of data to look into, we lose the headers, and we don't want to lose the headers. We will select the headers and we will say freeze the top row. And as no matter how much data I'm working with, I will always see the headers that I have defined for my data. So freeze pane is useful that way. Same as the freeze first column. So in case if I want to look at the first column, and I always want to look at it, so as no matter how far I go to the data, it will always show me the first column on my sheet. All right. That's all. I think there's another option called split. Split basically splits your sheet into sections, and in case you want to work only on this section or only on this section, it allows you to do so as well. These are some of the formatting or the viewing options that you can look at. All right, let's look at how do we hide and unhide some of the columns that are there. In case we want the status to be hidden, we will select status and we will say hide. It will show from J and it directly goes to L. It hides the column K. What if I want the column K back? It shows me a different kind of cursor when I go here. So if I select and drag it, I can extend the type of column that it has. I can again go and hide it, and if I select these two columns and then select right and unhide, it also unhides it. So like you can select hide or unhide any amount of times. You just have to select the number of columns, click on hide and unhide. It will like in case you are working with huge amount of data like this, you can simply select hide and unhide to view only the relevant columns and so on. Let's look at one of the simple calculations. Let's say we have this data of the employees and there is a job rating given based on their annual increment, like based on their annual performance, and the increment is to be calculated based on that. So let's say we are saying all those people who have the rating above 4, above 3 get the increment, and anyone above anyone below 3 does not get an increment. So let's say we put a formula which says if the salary, if the job rating is greater than 3, then multiply the salary with 8.5%, which is the increment, otherwise do not. So it will multiply it. Let's select this cell and double click here. So it will, sorry. So what I need to do here is I will have to fix the columns, because right now it is yeah. So what I did here was earlier, why it shows false is because it's taking the reference of M3. It is constantly moving data from, if it is cell 2, job rating 2, then cell reference is also this. But I need to fix the cell reference to be at 8.5. So what I did was I put a $ on the column number and the row number so that it's always M1. So when it's always M1, this will take up the columns of these two in the F formula, and it will, the column M1, this cell reference will remain intact. So when we look at anyone with lesser than 3 rating, it shows false. There is no increment. But if it is job rating 4, it says this is the rating. This is how you will do a basic logic formula with the if function, which tells you how to work with different types of data. And if you want to not include any data, then you can simply use the if function. New salary in this case, if you want to autofill, it will simply pick up the old salary, add the increment to it, and this becomes your new salary. And we can see in the cases where the rating was less than 3, it has not added anything. All right. Let's look at one of the good features of Excel, which is called pivot tables. Pivot tables are basically nothing but a summary view of the data that we're working with. Let's say we have this data wherein we have the sales information, product information, we have the region, we have customers, we have dates, cost, number of items, and we want to calculate the total cost. So total cost will be item multiplied by number of items, and we will simply select plus sign and double click. So as soon as we do that, it flash fills everything here. Let's select all this data and go to insert a pivot table. When I go and insert a pivot table, it will give me a pop-up wherein says, do you want the pivot table on the new sheet or the existing sheet? Let's say I want it on the existing sheet and I want it here. And I select OK. Now it opens up a range of okay. Sorry, why is it blank? Okay. Yep. So this is how it looks like. I customized it earlier, so it was showing the wrong, like it was showing only the field section and not the choose option section. So now let's suppose we want the products, we want the total cost, and we want the regions, right? So it gives us the product cost by regions. And let's also say we want to have a report level filter, which is like right now, the date format is like this. And if you put it in report format, it is always like this. Let's put the report, drag the date back to the rows section. It still is showing in a very different format because right now the let's go back to the data first. So what we need to look at when we're working with pivots is probably have our formats defined. Right now it is in general format. I will convert it into the date and I want to use the pivot to show me. This is only 1 month data. All right, but we can always filter and select, like, let's suppose we want the data for up to September, up to 9th. So it will give us only those. It is useful when we use the year function or when we have the dates for multiple years. So what we can do is we can, right now this is let's say we put a year column here and we extract the year out of the date. And because this is a numeric whole number, so we will convert this into the whole number. And now that I have added a new column to my data, will it reflect on the pivot? No, it does not, unless I click on the pivot and refresh it. So when I refresh, I have the year function. And if I go to year and select 21 and 22, it gives me the option to select. So this is how you work with data. Let's say we further want to create a chart out of this. So let us select all the product information and the region information and go to select on pivot chart. Pivot chart will give you the option of selecting different types of charts. There's a detail, like you can select any number of charts like column, line, pie chart, bar chart, but working with data like this, I think bar chart would suffice our need. One of the key features between the basic chart and the pivot chart is pivot chart gives you the option to alter the data. So as like you don't have to go back to the data and alter, you can simply select it here and it will change your filters in the pivot as well. So let's say I want to look at only Northeast and it will give me only Northeast and it will change my pivot also. So this is how you create basic pivots and the pivot charts. Graphs is another form of let me take you through that. Let's say we have this data and we want to create a graph out of it. Right now, we have a very detailed information here. We'll have to format this data. Like we see 2 decimal places here, but there are no decimals here, 2 detailed titles. Let's say we copy this title here and we go to text to columns and I can see a semicolon in all 3. So I'll go here and I will select a semicolon. Sorry, it has to be a timer. So as soon as I do that, it creates a line between it and I can finish. It gives me the text here, which is the short form of the detailed text that I had here. So this is what I did. I have the references here. So let's do this with this data as well. Let's select all these 3 headers, paste here, go to paste special, transpose it so that it comes like this. We again go and text to columns, go to delimited, go to next, and instead of doing the other, because there is no semicolon or the colons here, so let's go back to the dash. So as soon as I click dash, it divides my references as T1, T2, T3. So I will select the T1, T2, T3 again. I will go to the reference cell and paste it as paste special and transpose it again so that it changes the values at the top. When we look at the overall data, I think there is a difference here. So I will just simply put on the accounting format and it changes my numbers into 2 decimal places. Now let's say we want to create a graph out of it. This is the data provided in your from your institute so that it makes more sense for you to understand or relate to it. So let's say we have these numbers and I want to create a chart. we have different types of chart here. Let's click on recommended charts. This says this is the recommended chart. All right, we go to the recommended chart. We can put a chart title here. We can say, we can put a chart title that details or details of scores. So let's see, this was our chart title. We can work with charts in very different ways. Let's suppose right now this is showing your row information and the column information in the bars. So it is reading the data as it is presented. But what if we want to switch the row and column? Like I want T1, T2, T3, and I want the virtual reality data on the calculations. So you can simply select on switch row and column and it will do the trick for you. So whichever is the better representation of the data, you can choose that, and it based on your preference, it will show you the data. We can add different things to our chart, such as axis title. Axis title is nothing but detail about like what does this number reflect and what does T1, T2, T3 reflects. So we can say it is intervention scores. If it is anything different, you can always change it. And we can say this is the recordings. Right? All right. These are some of the checked options already. Axis is nothing but the grid line, but the numbers or the T1, T2 scores that we're looking at. Axis titles we've already discussed, chart title we've already placed. When we talk about data labels, we can put data labels here. Right now it looks too cluttered. What we can do to data labels, or what we can click on, is when you go to data label and there is an arrow here, click on that arrow and it will give you how you want to see your data: inside base, inside in, center, more options. Let's look at what are the more options that we have. It can also tell you the category name, series name, legend key, like if there are too many numbers and you want to look at what is blue, what is red, and what is gray, then you can give the legend key. Series names, value from the cells, like if you want to pick any value, you want to put it in the center for one bar. For second one, you want to put it top, and for third one, you want to put it inside end so that it's visible. So this makes more sense. Let's say we want to change the data labels and show percentage. It is also doable in this section. All right. When we look at the data here, there is an option of, let's say we don't have reference to the table and we want to add a data table to it. So we can select a section here which says from the plus sign and go to data table, which will give us a summary of the table that we have on the top, and it will give us the overview. And if we are having numbers here, so it makes sense to delete the data labels so that it looks less cluttered. Trend line will give you like which trend line do you want to look at. If it is V1, V2, V3, based on your preference, you can select a trend line also. Some of the error bars are shown here into this section. Right. When we look at charts, there is a lot that we can do with it. One of the simplest things to do is go to chart design. We can refer to the predefined chart designs and select the predefined colors. If you don't like the default settings, you can always go here and talk about the chart settings and the colors from the top based on your preferences. Right, so this is we've covered all the charts part and we've covered the pivot table basics. Let's move on to another feature, which is called the Smart Art. Smart Art is nothing but a predefined set of options or table options that you can create. It comes under, okay, sorry. I've lost it. Maps. Sorry, where have I lost it? One second. Sorry. Yep. It was hidden in the illustration section. So we can add pictures, shapes, icons that we have a list and range of icons here. It takes time to load and you can select any number of icons if you're working with a graph or an organization chart kind of a structure that you want to create. One of the predefined sections here is Smart Art. It is a graphic format of the data that you can put through. It has different options. List options give you different types of data to look into and put your data into the format as a text. Let's say we want to talk about T1 in detail, and this is where it will give you the details. So you can create smart arts like this. You can choose different smart arts. You can choose your data to look the way you want to with the drop-down selection that you get here. Smart art design, as soon as you work with smart art, it opens up a new option at your ribbon chart, which is smart art design, and you can always choose and design it the way you want to. So some of the key features are like working with different types of lists, and you can present the data the way you want to. If you want to change from list option to the process option to the cycle option, you can always do so. So these are some of the cool features that we have, and it helps us present our data into impactful way, though smart art is more used in PowerPoint than in Excel. But then if you want to create org charts or you want to put the data in one place, so you can do it like this. It's pretty simple. You have different options to choose from. All right, I think we have covered almost everything that we wanted to. Yep, we have. In case if you have any questions or you want any more information, please feel free to drop me an email. You will get the details from the coordinator. I will share this sheet and the PowerPoint presentation for you to refer and if there are any questions, please let me know. Have a great day ahead, and hope this session was impactful and helped you learn things. Thank you so much, everyone.